All right, everybody. Welcome to another great episode of Boss Talks. I'm your host, Evan Happel with Community Boss, and I have a great guest today, Seth Weiner. He is with the company called Sonic Promos. He is the president with them, been there for a while, and he does all things swag and promotional items, getting that brand out there for your company. And if you're like me and my company, we're always about finding the swag that does the most work, bang for your buck, right? Most work for hopefully not as much money. We have our own thing going on. You see in the background, you got our Boss Bling. We got some mugs that we do. The Boss chain. He's rocking it today as well. But we're going to get into it. And how do we do it effectively? So I'm excited to have him on the show today. But before we get there, again, Evan Happel with Community Boss, we have a great solution for you when it comes to managing your physical spaces, when it comes to apartments and HOAs and your just residential space. So if you have an issue with parking, your amenities, you want to showcase them better with a map, maybe make some revenue, come my way. We got a great software for you. So if you have any questions, I'm here for you. But today it's about Seth. So let's get to it. All right, Seth, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, Evan. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So I couldn't get it out of my head, and we were just talking about it. And you have been him for Halloween, but Zach Galifianakis was like instantly what I thought when yes, there we go. And you were saying you were him as the Hangover.
Yes. Actually, last week or so, my wife was part of a group that was putting together the community Halloween party with like a parade and everything. All these kids, none of them mine. My kids were not even there. But I went ahead and dressed up, and I have the full Hangover gear with the shirt and the baby and the sunglasses and the purse, the man purse, and the wrapped hand and everything. And so I went to the park and then was asked to take pictures of all the kids, which of course was not creepy at all. But nonetheless, yes, it is a go-to costume that has worked out pretty well for me.
That's awesome. That's super awesome. Yeah, I just met you 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, actually last week or so we met in person, but we were connected through one of your colleagues.
Yeah, and you guys met at an event here in the multifamily industry, one that you serve through your company. Not that it's exclusively what you serve, but it is one of them, and you appreciate this business and this industry. But you're in the promo business, and we'll get into all that shortly. But it is, again, a topic where it's like we love parts of our swag, but you got to do it right. You do. Yeah. And you can do it well, or you can do it terribly, and you can just straight up not stand out against the crowd. So we'll get that shortly. Before we get any further into that, though, I just have a few questions I like to ask my guests, and I kick it off with, because we're a software that deals in parking, I like to ask my guests about parking. So when it comes to, and now you're not a community manager, I don't expect you to have a story about a nightmare in your apartments, unless you do have one from back in the day or something. But do you have any funny anecdotes when it comes to parking that you've dealt with over the years, or just maybe your opinion on parking?
Sure. I mean, who doesn't have an opinion on parking, Evan? The funny thing is that when I researched you all, because we made the connection, I even reached out and said, oh, we should install this in our HOA, because we actually have a problem in our own house community, which is that you've got parking spaces that are allotted to the people who own the home. And then you've got your visitor spaces.
Right.
And those visitor spaces there's no numbers, there's no counts, there's no permits, there's no nothing. They're just open spaces, really. It also used to be, we had a lot more spaces in the circles and on the and in what has now become, everybody has turned them all into fire lanes. So now the spaces are even less. And you have a few families that have like 8 cars, and there will cycle all of those cars around. You also have just random people who will park in those spaces and then leave for the day and then go to work in somebody else's truck or whatever. So when I saw that you all were managing HOA, and I'm not a plug, I was not planted here to talk on your behalf, but when I saw that you had the way of being able to track when people are parking there, and you make them pay or get them pulled away, I think that's amazing. And I do have a connection to the HOA. My wife was on the HOA again for a long time, but and parking is a real challenge in house communities or apartment communities.
Yeah. And are you in the vicinity of DC?
We're right outside of Washington, D.C. in Maryland,
Yeah.
the suburbs of Maryland.
Yeah. We actually have a pretty good chunk of business right there. And the what is it? The DMV, is that what it's called?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, and both HOA and apartments, and there's a lot of people that live in that area.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So that would be my parking war, if you will. We want to throw a show in there, parking war. So
Parking wars.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe that should be parking wars.
I think there is one. I'm pretty sure it exists. So.
Yeah. Well, we can add it to the apartment industry too. There's plenty of stories to tell. All right. Well, thank you. And then next question: when it comes to music, what is your go-to maybe song or artist or type of music to get you going, motivated, and off and running? So what do you got?
I actually am about as eclectic when it comes to music as you can get. I really like a lot of stuff. It does depend on what I'm doing. I like to listen to a lot of progressive rock when I'm going on long hikes, because I do like to hike a lot. So I like to listen to a lot of Genesis and Pink Floyd, some of the old stuff that's out there. And then I mentioned the Michael McDonald connection, because I'm big into like yacht rock type music. I do think that older music is a little bit more my style. So that's pretty common for me. If I'm looking to get, pumped up or something, I'll listen to the Rocky soundtrack that I listen to. So nice. I'm pretty cheesy, but I really like music a lot. So you might hear me listening to, classic rock, and then I have no problem listening to a lot of Celine Dion. It's all good.
Straight into Celine Dion.
Straight into Celine Dion, sometimes you need it. You just need it. So
yeah, maybe you have a high on some ballad rock song, and then it flies into Celine.
Yeah, I would say that one of my most favorite, I'm a big Grateful Dead fan. So anything Grateful Dead, I really like. I'm a big fan of most Bob Weir songs. So that's really where I like. But that's my kind of jam. But then again, I really like a lot of Pink Floyd. So anything from give me the Dark Side of the Moon album any day, and that's 43 minutes of really good time spent.
Yeah, nice. Well, thanks for sharing. And then finally, when it comes to coffee and caffeine, so you can go either way. Mm-hmm. What's your go-to coffee beverage?
So I'm not the biggest coffee person. I really tea is more of my thing. Okay. I'm a sweet tea. I'm a half sweet, half unsweet tea guy. That's my go-to, and that's more of a. I know you're in Seattle. I think that's why the coffee thing is the big thing. But here on the East Coast, as you get closer and closer to Virginia and the Carolinas, it's tea, and it gets sweeter and sweeter as you get south.
Oh yeah. So, sweet tea, yes.
Sweet tea. So I'm a big fan of tea. But if I'm drinking coffee, it's cold brew all the time, lightly sweetened, no milk.
Yeah. I wonder if the tea is a hangover from the revolution against Britain, like the New England area just is like, we're going to drink tea as a nod over to
Sure.
the Brits.
It's very common. Pretty much any Southern biscuit joint that you'll find, sweet tea sort of goes with it. That and Chick-fil-A, I think you find
Yeah.
all the tea you can want. So anyway,
Yeah. Okay. All right. Tea. I
cool.
guess that's
Sorry.
yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right. It's fine.
Yeah.
Do you like it sweet or do you like it?
I'm more of a medium. Yeah.
Okay.
As I've gotten a little bit older, I've found that I should not eat as much sugar. The tea tastes pretty syrupy when you've got a lot of sugar in there. So
Yeah, I can't handle it.
nah. No. I do like candy. I'll eat all the candy, but for some reason, I don't like my beverages to be too sweet.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah, that's why I drink black coffee.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
Gets the true flavor. So
Yeah.
I did go to Costa Rica and had some great coffee experiences. So I'm not anti-coffee. If I'm going to drink coffee, yeah, I'd like a really good cup, but primarily cold brew is cold brew is what I'm going for.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I do like a cold brew.
Yeah.
I do enjoy that as well. Okay, well, thanks for sharing.
Sure.
Super important
But those are
topic.
important. I mean, it's possible I've turned off most of the people already with the things that I've shared between the Celine Dion and the iced tea. I mean, who is this guy? So I get it. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm an acquired taste.
Well, I appreciate that you have a sense of humor. I think you have to if you're gonna, because you don't have to necessarily rock what you got going on here, but maybe that's already your look and Zach just came along and stole your look. I think that's probably more like it.
The facial hair has kind of gone in waves over the years. I used to be more of a goatee guy, but now, pretty regular.
Yeah, I think behind you needs to be 2 ferns, but that's just.
Oh yeah, I know. I should, but I have shark posters. I'm a big Jaws fan. You didn't ask me my movie go-to, and that would be Jaws. Just a huge Jaws fan. So I've got a lot of Jaws stuff. So
nice.
Man versus fish, community versus community. It's the standard story.
Yeah, nice. Well, Seth, I just want to get right into kind of your background. How did you get into this world of promo marketing and the swag and bringing, I like to say in my post, I said swagger because your swag should have some swagger, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me give you one more quick thing before we jump in, the other part of the connection, right? So like, not only did we get connected, but we got connected because I appreciated what you all were giving out. And I think that especially as somebody who's in the business, to have somebody giving out something that that you appreciate, that they put some thought into, they're getting they're getting the objective, they're meeting the objective that they want. People are walking around, where did you get that? Oh, I got it at this table, then they're going to this table, you're able to deliver your message. That's all great. And so for me, as somebody who it's hard, you don't see that often at shows, it's just a lot of giving away stuff. I appreciate that. So that's why we ended up having the discussion. And, at the same time, you all were seeing what we were doing at our show, our table, which is all about engagement we can get into, and lead generation. And that can be really successful. But you don't start out there in the business that I'm in. Most people think of what we do as T-shirts and mugs. And so interestingly, it's almost like a $25 billion a year business. So it's a lot of T-shirts and mugs, but we don't think about where it comes from. So where did I come from? I went to Ithaca College. I was in a fraternity and sorority in the 1900s, as I like to joke. And I started selling fraternity and sorority merchandise for a company when I was in college. I graduated from college and I ended up still working there. And I sold fraternity and sorority merchandise all throughout upstate New York on a bunch of different college campuses. I was the guy who sat up next to the poster and incense guy and sold fraternity letters and paraphernalia that the fraternities and sororities would want. And at the time we'd order, stuff for them and then we'd ship it to them or whatever. And so there was a point where I considered wanting to do that, but really got more into corporate. And so we started as a home-based business, two guys, one table, $500, and did what we knew, which was fraternity sorority business. But again, the challenge with that is a lot of turnover. So it's hard to catch up with people and chase after them to pay you, especially if they're paying for kegs, and things like that when you're in college, right?
Right.
So we really have moved more into corporate. And I really knew more about screen printing and embroidery. It's easy to do T-shirts for people, but learning more about hard goods, the actual like stress balls and pens and bags and mugs and things like that, has become a 30-year journey, if you will. So we started Sonic in 1997, and now we've been in business since then. And our sweet spot is enterprise level companies. We really help companies that have large problems to solve them, and usually are challenges. And usually those challenges are, we've got 1,000 employees and we have 25 offices and we need to get stuff to all those people. And how do we do that? We want to be consistent. A lot of our clients are global, so they want to do the same thing, but they want to get it to a bunch of different countries. So we really work with them to talk about, and this is the big, we're all about promotional items, but we talk a lot about strategy and programs. We need to know, what are we trying to do and what is it being done for? So often someone says, hey, we want 500 t-shirts. Well, there's got to be a reason for it. It's not just we randomly want 500 t-shirts. So you unpack it and you find out that it's connected to a new hire program, and everybody gets those. Well, why are you pre-ordering 500 if you only need 20 at a time? So those are things that we would have those discussions with people, because the way the business is even going has changed a lot. You don't need to order 500 of things anymore in order to do it. It's not one size fits all. You can do one piece or whatever. So that's, for me, why it's really fun, because I like when people come to us with the challenge and we then are able to find the solution. And it's not just I want a pen with my logo on it. It's usually connected to something more. But what's interesting, and I think you'll find interesting, is that there are lots of companies that are in this world, and there are lots of needs with $25 billion. So if you want to talk a little bit more about your particular audience, like in the real estate, corporate real estate and housing, apartment complexes, communities, and things like that, I can provide more focus on that for everybody. I think will be helpful.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I think, like you were saying, having some thought behind why are you buying this swag, especially if it's, there's the, the quantities and like what the use is, but there's also like for the business to business world, like multifamily, whether you're a supplier to it like us, or you're, on site, you have site teams that want swag to give to their residents or potential residents or their employees. Like, yeah, what's the point? We got to this because we thought with a company like Community Boss, we had to do something that embraces boss, because everybody likes that. They like, to add like a boss to things, manage like a boss, which is our tag. What could we do to embrace it from a swag standpoint? And we found these I love them, chains, and everybody at the events do too. But like you said, it's because we wanted it to incorporate like what we're doing. And then when we go to an event, what's our swag gonna do? Is it gonna go in the garbage can at the end of the event? Like, you had a name for that, I'm pretty sure. I think we all
I
did.
did. Yes, it's the the brand fill.
Yeah. Yeah, the brand fill, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Like, everybody's like got a bag and they're like, yes, 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 yes. And then they're like, oh crap, I got to get home.
Right.
Garbage can. Two
Yeah.
things actually made it home.
That's right. Well, and here's one way to ensure that yours are one of those two things. Stop giving out junk. I mean, that is part of the way to keep things out of the brand fill. Too often, organizations, companies, whoever they are, they decide at the last minute to invest some money in brand marketing items, and they are usually stuck with what they can do last minute. And either they're going to pay a real lot of money to pay for a rush and overnight shipping. If you overnighted tumblers, you're paying for a lot of air. You'll pay more for the shipping and the rush than the tumblers themselves. Well, if you knew that that event was coming up a month ago, you needed to start there. So those are all of the intricacies, and that is why so often the stuff doesn't end up getting to where it's supposed to go. The other reason that things don't end up where they're supposed to go is because the companies that are giving them out are not actually considering where the recipient is when they want them to be, or where they want them to be when they're thinking about the decision that's associated with their business. So, for example, if I'm community boss, right, I'm parking boss, where do I want to be that's going to reinforce that I'm frustrated that there are 8 cars that are parked in my visitor spot? Well, maybe some sort of car air freshener or a dashboard thing or something, because I'm in the car, right? And a lot of people make their main home related decisions when they're in the kitchen. Right. So if I'm thinking about moving from, one community to another community or whatever, I'm probably talking about that over dinner. So where do I want to stay top of mind? In that kitchen. Knowing where your audience is and knowing what the message is that you want to try to reinforce is really critical. And the desk is a great place. We forget how much real estate you have on the desk. Those are other things that you want to think about. And if you know that you have 7 coffee mugs, then why would you think that giving another coffee mug to somebody else is going to make no offense to all your coffee mugs, which I love, but because you're using them. But the point is that, if somebody is really married to their mug, if somebody's really married to their mug, what's it say? There you go.
Boss. Yeah. And it's the office theme, community boss.
Nice. Yeah, so those are the challenges that end up happening. A lot of times you've got one person ordering the goods that somebody else is supposed to be giving out at the show. A lot of times people think that the goal is to make sure that you leave with no more stuff in your box. But if you didn't come back with any leads or any return, then that is not successful. That's just a waste of money.
Right. And I love what you were saying about thinking about where are they going to see this, because the goal first is to get it not in the garbage can. Then next, when they're using it or whatever, where's it going to be? And is that going to be like something that's reinforcing what you do? And the air freshener that you brought up, we actually did that. And we actually have air fresheners that says, does your car stink? Well, at least your parking doesn't. And, it's both sides, and it has our company name on it and stuff like that.
Now you can take that same item. Now let's talk about the air freshener, because the air freshener is not an expensive item. You're talking about a few dollars, right? And normally an air freshener has like 30 days worth of like true last, unless you're one of those who pulls the plastic down, just a little bit to try to save a freshen. But 30 days, right? Let's say it's $3, 30 days. Okay, so 10 cents a day for how many times is the person going in their car every day? So that's a lot of impressions as well. Now, how many people throw those things away right away? They don't. It might be sticking around there for a long time, right? So one other thing that you could do to get even more, legs out or mileage out of it is to put a QR code or some sort of call to action that's being printed on there, because you could put Community Boss on the front side. But if you want to say, does your parking stink? Well, click here to see how we can fix it. And then they're like, here's the situation. You're sitting here and whatever. And then you've got a bunch of different things, because you can then say, hey, We made 500 of these air fresheners. We put this QR code on it. It's been scanned X number of times over this thing. So that provides you data, which is something that not every medium for branding and marketing provides. But promotional items have that tangible ability for you to track, like really track what the response is.
Yeah. That's what we're trying to figure out with this, right? I
So
mean,
we talked about that, yeah.
Yeah, but there is a lot of it just gets a lot of airtime. I think it has its own place and usefulness that
Yeah.
far out exceeds, if it could have a QR code on it, that'd be nice, but
A sticker you would put a sticker on it, like
yeah,
a retail label kind of thing, so
right.
that then they tear it off. But
Yeah.
you don't need to have a call to action on everything. To your point,
Yeah.
us talking about it, showing it, is more than enough for people to know what it's all about.
Right.
And that's one other thing that I think sometimes people forget about promotional items. They have lots of power, but they're not always the answer. They're a lot of times the support to the whole thing. No one's going to say, I just bought this house because I got this 59-cent pen. I mean, it'd be great if it did, but it's usually over time that you're building the relationship and you're using the promotional items as part of that overall messaging.
Right. Totally. Yeah. And one of the things that you do at your booth when you're doing, trade shows yourself is you try to gamify it and all that. And I think that's really cool. So how do you use not only your swag, but also engagement and gamification to help generate leads? Because ultimately that's what you're trying to do. And how could they do this even maybe at the community level?
Good question. I feel like that one's been put in there purposely, and I like it. So yes, so the idea of gamification has been going on forever. Okay, I'll give you a couple of old school scenarios. You're walking a table show, you walk up to a booth, and there's a whole line of people, and someone is spinning an actual physical wheel, and it's got a bunch of prizes and gift card or sunglasses. Okay, great, fine. Everybody's waiting. Lots of options. Other things that happen, people give you a card and they say, go visit these 26 booths, and they'll put a sticker on there. And then once you've completed this card, drop it in here and we'll pull some names out or whatever. I love all of those things. The challenge with them is that they are somewhat prohibitive for really scaling to have a lot of users. And they are, especially with the passport, while it is good, it's potentially challenging for the person working the table because they might miss lead opportunities. If they're busy focusing on stamping and clicking and tracking all that stuff, somebody who might be really interested in speaking to them may just pass by. So how do you give the person at the table the ability to manage the communication with interested parties and still manage whatever the engagement is for the people who are kind of just interested in checking a box or winning a prize or whatever? And how could you capture information for all of those people so that you're not worried that you're missing opportunities, and that you can then follow up with those people after the event, which is really when the good work is going to get done, because most people don't walk in with huge jobs and you close it right there at the thing. You still usually take it later or whatever.
Right.
So we've been adding gamification suites and things like digital spin and wins, trivia contests, digital passport programs, scavenger hunts. Your phone is basically your way of playing the games. So, for example, what we were doing at the event a couple weeks ago is we did a Halloween theme, and we gave out branded candy. We gave out gummy brains, and we also gave out these golden ticket chocolate bars. It's actually like a sea salt chocolate bars inside of there, and then we branded sort of a Candyland design on there. with a QR code and everything. And so people came by and they scanned the QR code on the candy or on and it opened up a spin and win. They entered their information, they spun the wheel. We captured all of that information when they entered it in. They won their prizes and we distributed the prizes. During that, I think it was like a 5-hour event, we captured 100 leads through that program, which we followed up with right away. And you and I have talked about this. Yes, the parking thing, that's an issue. But the issue that I have when it comes to events is when you get an email from somebody that says, "Thanks for stopping by our booth," and you didn't stop by the booth.
Yeah.
Oh, and you weren't even at the event.
Yeah.
It's like one of my biggest things, because it's so easy to just not do that. Just email the people that did, that did. Right. And so by doing this, programs like this, you can actually say. I also sent an email to people pre-event who I thought might be coming, because that's also a real trick. A lot of people don't do that, is pre-event marketing. If you know who the people are that are going to be coming, you reach out to them and say, "Come by booth 123." So I sent an email to like 50 people in advance that said, "Come by our booth," or whatever. Well, at the end of the event, I was able to see who actually spun the wheel, who I sent the pre-list to, merged them together, and then wrote to the people who didn't stop by, "Hey, you didn't stop by our booth. Because I know you didn't stop by our booth, I'd like to give you an opportunity to try out what you missed. Here it is." And then you get those people. So by doing all of this, you're capturing leads. You can ask questions. Do you currently work with Community Boss? What is your position? Are you a property manager? Are you a leasing manager? Whatever the questions are that you're trying to get. If you're doing that, certainly you want your prizes to be equal to the amount of effort that you're doing, which is why spin and wins are easy. But if you do a 10 question questionnaire, and then you say, "Hey, we're giving you, this fanny pack," which I love fanny packs. I'm not anti fanny pack, but there's like, "Hey, I spent like 10 minutes filling this out." So those are things that you want to consider. So the spin and win type programs are great for a single table. They're also good for you to ask, how can you use them on site at events or whatever. You can set up digital spin and win type programs for every time you have somebody sign a new lease. And you can give them an opportunity to say, "Hey, thanks for moving in." If you don't have a move-in gift program, and that we talked about programs, we talk a little bit about it. But if you don't have a move-in gift program, but you want to still, engage some way, then you can say, "Hey, thanks for moving," or maybe it's been a month. "Well, it's been a month. Thanks so much. Here's your month win, or your month spin, your 1 month spin, and win." And then you can give them an opportunity at, a salt and pepper shaker and a pizza stone, or, whatever it is, things that they would use in wherever they are. And so, or a laundry bag, if you've got, whatever those things are. If you have a pool, maybe you want to give towels. So many of the communities that I work with, they're not all the same. Some are pet friendly. Some have pools. Some have fitness centers. Some have all of them. Some are close to metro access. Those are all things also that are different. So you want to use those to your advantage. So, it's really exciting to be able to engage with people and then know that you're capturing the information. What we would normally do with a client is we'll ask them, "What's your overall budget?" So if they say, "We've got $5,000, you can easily pop up a 5-tier, 500-person spin and win experience where you give everybody the opportunity to scan the code, spin the wheel, win a prize. Maybe you're only giving 5 prizes. You don't have to give every single person a prize. But what you do know is that you will have the ability to follow back up with those people post-event and see what kind of opportunity you might be able to generate from them by being quick and being persistent.
Yeah. No, and I like that. Honestly, you're doing way more than just provide swag. because most of these companies that we've bought stuff from, they don't care how we use it. They just are like, oh, you want to buy swag? Cool.
Yeah, that's why
But
the
I think,
brand is an issue.
yeah, but I think it's great that you're like actually passionate about how to use this, how to be effective with it, how to gamify it, how to make this actually do something. I mean, that's really a whole nother level compared to what I've experienced.
Yeah, and part of that comes from I do have a marketing and advertising like background. That was what I and speech communication. Like those are all things that I understand. I don't want people to waste money either.
Right,
Like
right.
I want people to come back. We always want we have clients that we've had for 27 years. And why do they come back? Because we're not just selling them stuff. We're selling them a solution. We're also telling them there are plenty of clients who will find something online and they'll say, I want this. And I'll say, why do you want this? Or that you might want this, but it ships from California and you need it in 3 days and it's going to
Yeah.
cost $500 to expedite. If you're just selling stuff, then you're really not even developing the place where the client might say, hey, how else could you help me? We
Mhm.
think of ourselves, we are marketing, we are advertising, we are
Right.
a medium. And so if we only think of ourselves as stuff sellers, then that's all we're going to be doing. And there's nothing wrong with selling stuff. But if you're trying to actually get some, get have an objective and you're trying to figure out a way to meet that objective, then you need to put a little bit of a thought into how you're going to get there.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, we're at our company, it's a big joke about pens. Like we're not big on pens. Although we did get really nice notebooks and pens just as a company, but we're not giving these away because I think they were like $100.
Yeah.
Um and
No.
even the pen says community boss on it. And it's a very nice pen, but it's not this kind of pen. It's not like 50 cents or whatever it was.
Sure.
And anyways, there's also differentiation. Like, do you want to just be another pen in their drawer, or like, and maybe you do, and it has a place. It's useful.
Sure.
It, you know,
Uh,
you'll see
part
it.
of part of brand marketing is also telling a story,
Yeah.
right? And I actually have a shirt on that says, what's your story? And this is actually the Sonic story in graphics that one of our artists designed. So like you even asked about music. I mean, there's a cassette tape here and musical notes, and we're big on pets, and there's sunglasses and stuff like that. So I think if you tell people what you're about, then they
Yeah.
are and they like what that story is. They want to be part of that as well. For example, and I did bring props because I did. So we celebrated our 25th anniversary a couple years ago. And one of the things that we did a 3-piece mailer to people. And it was all a 90s theme because we were created in the 90s. So for example, we sent people a pack like this little padded pack, looks like a boom box, and inside was this mixtape, but it's actually a Bluetooth speaker inside. So the little tape here syncs right up with your phone. So taking
Huh.
something very 90s. We even like put some faux songs on here. We took 90s songs like My Art Will Go On, see Celine Dion, Baby Got Boxes and stuff like that. So we sent that out to our clients, and we even included a little like Rolling Stone thing that told our story for people, really like detailed stuff. And this is not something that you do in a couple of days before an event. This is something that you plan as like a whole ongoing project. We even sent those people custom Beanie Babies in custom Beanie Baby type boxes, where we did a sheep. We even did Dolly the sheep. Because it was sort of a 90s thing. Here's your QR code that we talked about. Oh, where's my computer?
Yeah.
So, and then to scan that to talk about who we are. And then we gave everybody an option to choose like a bucket cap or a fanny pack. All it was a part of a 1-year, 3-part program to talk about our history, to showcase some really, really cool things that you're not just going to pick up off the shelf, and show how you can put those to use. And the interesting thing is that every single one of these items that we gave out, they've been ordered by our clients for themselves. We've sold that mixtape speaker over and over and over again to other clients because they know it's really cool and they really like it. And everybody who gets it likes it because most people, although things change, but most people still remember a cassette tape.
Yeah, yeah.
And we work in a really interesting time where you've got 18-year-olds and 88-year-olds working in the exact same company. So to be able to communicate with them and reach them is not one, again, it's not one size fits all. And that's how these items can really help to tell that story and really engage with people in ways that you just would never even know how that's going to happen.
Yeah. Because swag can have the wrong effect. Like, as you were talking, I just remembered back to my wife. She started school and even a new job, like at the same time. Both the company and the school gave her swag. Okay. In both cases, it was garbage. And it just, that's all she could talk about, how it was garbage. So that, what
Yeah.
does that do? You thought, as a company or a school, you thought, oh, we're going to give them a goodie bag and they're going to love it. And then you gave them garbage and they get it and they're like, wow, they're cheap.
Yeah, it really does reflect, who you are and what you do. And there's plenty of good products out there that you can buy for a reasonable cost. There are really good $1 pens. There are plenty of good $1 to $2 bags. But if you're expecting, like, we always get calls for like the Lululemon bag. That's a very popular one. I want the Lululemon bag, but I don't want to spend the same price that a
Yeah.
Lululemon bag costs. I just want the feel and everything. Well,
Yeah.
there's a difference. And to your point, like if that's your first impression, that's not good. And a lot of times we will advise clients to save their budget and wait until they've got more budget to invest in something that is actually going to be more effective, as opposed to waiting to the last minute, paying extra for something that isn't worth what you should be paying for, just to give something out, because that does not give a good impression either.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to school, everybody wants a sweatshirt of the school. Give them a sweatshirt. Like, this doesn't have to be rocket
No.
science.
So another thing that we found, and again, how do you avoid, people throwing things away? How do you avoid people not liking what you've got? You don't have to do, like we said, don't have to do 500 of something anymore. There are actually a lot of programs out there that you can do print on demand. So you could give, let's say you've got new hires, or you've got a 5-year anniversary, and you want to give everybody the option to pick something and you're not sure what it is. You can set up a platform with 3 items that all say 5-year anniversary, 5-year anniversary, 5-year anniversary. And Evan wants the cooler, and Seth wants the tumbler, and someone else wants the speaker. And then you give everybody what they want. Sometimes you want everybody to have everything so they look consistent. But if you're giving something a gift that's like a tumbler or a speaker, they're not all coming together for a party to take a photo with their
Right.
speaker. So consider providing a little bit of a freedom of choice. Before we're getting close to the end, but I did want to mention, going back to multifamily,
Yeah.
there are so many times that brand marketing items come into play. There's new residents coming in. There's residents that have been around for X number of years. There are potential residents, right? If you're going out and doing community related, there's also community related events. They're not even looking for potential people, to move. They're just want to be part of the community. You also have, we talked about, you got varying ages of people. You got students. So a student messaging is different. And then you've got pet owners, and you've got pool, if you've got pools or whatever. But what you'll find, if you think about it, there's a lot of consistency with some of the things that you might give to all of those different audiences. And so oftentimes we are thinking about the need at hand. Oh, I know we've got a table event coming out. We want to order 50 bottles, 50 pens, and 50 bags. A week or two later, the same community calls for something different, that they needed pens and tumblers and bags. And because they're not communicating about what do we need for the whole year and what are some of the things we can give to 4 or 5 different groups, we're not duplicating. We're going to get 100 tumblers, but we're giving 25 to this group for this need and 25 for this need. When that happens, you can save money, you can save time, you can be consistent with brand. You cannot be empty-handed, which often happens, and then people do spend money for rush, which they shouldn't do because they just need something. If they plan just a little bit further ahead, have a little bit of a small, extra stock of things. Those are all things that can really help to limit a lot of extra time that gets spent on projects, because they weren't hired to order promotional items, and spend 3 or 4 hours trying to figure out how to fit their logo on a tumbler or a bag. So that would be something from my experience that I would try to encourage. The other thing, this is a huge one. We've been doing this now, and it's been really successful, and it's saving companies a lot of money. If you have, let's say, 20 different, complexes, they all have different names, but you want to give them all the same bag, but you all want different names on there. Instead of letting each of those groups order, one off, we try to consolidate. You can order 5,000 bags and give 250 to the different groups, each with their own name, but save everybody a significant amount of money by consolidating those orders and then just doing what's called a copy change, as opposed to 250, 250, 250. You'll save money on the product, you'll save time for everybody in the sourcing, and you'll save money on the shipping as well.
Yeah. No, I think it's all good. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I think we're gonna talk about things because there's like a lot of ideas I have. Personally, we're in the midst of some decision making from our brand standpoint, and I have ideas, and I'm like, this would be so fun. Like, anyways, we'll get into that. Side note,
Sure.
but I just think it's really great that you have a more consultative vibe about you in the approach to this. Something I haven't experienced in this world of swag. It's usually us sitting in a room looking at swag and going, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
Nobody's like informing us, well, based on your brand, like try this out, so
Okay. Well, I will let you know there are more of us out there. I'm not the only one.
Oh, I know. I've come across a few of them.
Yeah.
And it is an interesting world, because I know you're not a broker per se, but like it's not like you manufacture stuff.
I don't.
It's more that you've got a store essentially, but you're providing service in the sense of you're helping people to make decisions. If they want to just buy it, they can buy it, whatever. That's part of it too. But I do find it interesting, different people's approaches, because a lot of people, I don't know what it is, if they can just buy a store and like start this on their own. If there's a company that just allows you to do that, it must be something like that.
Yeah, there is. It's just like an Etsy, those types of companies or whatever. And there's a space for those. It's usually more like, hey, our community is doing a Halloween parade and we want 24 t-shirts. I can 100% help you, but I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions like, what's your PMS color? And, all sorts of stuff that you're going to be like, I would just want blue. And so that's where there's a difference, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's why it's a huge industry with plenty of space.
Right.
But if you've got clients who have multiple brands, multiple colors, have a brand guide and certain logos, companies like ours are great for, because we've got a graphic design team. I mean, Sonic has 25 people. We've got a graphic design team. We've got a programs and fulfillment team, that set up company stores. We've got a production team that manages all the orders, finance. And then we've got a large sales team of people that are, trying to help out with these projects. So by putting all of that together, we're really able to, help companies who are interested in, like I said, have a new sales goal or a
Yeah.
growth goal or just a recognition internal goal.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I appreciate all that.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's great. And I really do like the engagement and the gamification, and it brings about a lot of ideas as we're heading into next year, and we have all these trade shows we're going to go to. And the trade shows, not to say that these things don't cost money, but they like to charge you what, $650 for their lead, their little software device, that hardware to scan their name tags and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, yeah, that works, but you could also make it fun, right? And like memorable.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, I like the idea of working with some other companies within the same show
Yeah, we
to
talked about that too.
do like a scavenger hunt where you scan ours, and then maybe it's even a physical thing that has a QR code and maybe stamps. I don't know, whatever. It could be a mixture, but it leads you to go to those other companies as well.
Yeah, absolutely. If you get 5 or 10 of them to each put up one big prize too,
Right.
then you've got, say we're giving away 6 prizes, we're giving away, a Yeti cooler, we're giving away a solo stove and whatever. And then you all consolidate the spend as well.
Right.
And you already plan to give out, that each of you are not going to give out the same. I know you don't like pens, but hey, table, what are you giving out? What are you giving out?
Right.
So even if it's part of the same thing, hey, we're going to give out a 5 senses, 5 of you. We're going to do a 5 senses thing. We're going to give the air freshener. We're going to give the candy. We're going to give sunglasses. Whatever it is. And then at the end, you've got the really nice prize that it doesn't matter who it was. And then at the end, you can say to each of those 5 people, the 5 tables, these are the people that scanned all of yours. These are the ones that scanned all yours. And then you follow up with them, because maybe not everybody did complete the whole thing, but you still have the ability to provide that data.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, it makes it sound more fun. That's for sure. Versus, the alternatives out there. I love bucking against the conferences, because I don't know. I feel like conferences are lazy. I just feel like they're like, well, we just know people are going to give us money, and we don't really have to do anything other than take their money and put their logo everywhere or whatever. But
our industry has changed a lot.
Yeah.
There used to be really, really big shows, and now it's become a bit more intimate, where our supplier partners really just focus on those companies that are selling their stuff and saying, how can we help you to sell more? And it's not any different than kind of what we do with our own clients, saying, what are the programs that we can help to support you with? And then, you put all of that together.
Yeah. 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 No, I think there's definitely a lot of pushback happening within conferences right now. I think a lot of companies are like, well, maybe I could just do something myself. Like, do I even need to go to 20 conferences this year, or could I go to like 1? Because that's us. I'm like, I'm not going to 20 conferences. I'm gonna stay home and go to a couple conferences.
Sure. Well, again, the speed dating type scenario works. Like if you put up your own little mini conference and invited, 25 potentially good clients, like been doing a certain level with you, but you think they might have a chance for more. And then you do some sort of round robin with some of your people and you showcase your different programs, and then they, split around that. Those are some of the sales, type programs that we've been found to be successful. Because again, you want to focus on where the opportunities are, as opposed to kind of you're hoping that you're going to spend $10,000 for a table plus all the other stuff and the travel. And what do you need to sell in order to make it so that you not just broke even, but like, really made it worthwhile. And I'm not anti conference or events at all. I just think that sometimes people don't think strategically about what the payoff is going to be, and is it really worth it? And if the goal is just to have FaceTime, that's okay, but you have to put a value on that. You say it's worth $50,000 of our FaceTime for this. Okay, no problem. But is it?
Yeah, no
So
kidding.
another thing we do a lot is on-site decoration. So like we've actually done, people come to the table, they fill in, their information, same idea, and maybe we're laser engraving Pilsner glasses, and we'll have a machine on site and we'll do that, or we're embroidering bags, same idea. We capture their information, we embroider their bag, we hand it to them live at the event, and then we follow up with them later. Now, something like that's a high end, that's an experience. That's like a $10,000 experience, but you're going to get people to come to that, to the table and check it out.
Yeah, no, I love that. We actually did that, and I think I
Yeah,
shared with
we
you.
mentioned that, right?
We made some T-shirts at a conference. It was a sponsor package that we just bought, but we were able to make them custom, and it would say either "manage like a boss," "market like a boss," or you could put whatever you wanted and add a certain word to finish the sentence. So, yeah, it was fun. We were stuck in a really weird location, but nonetheless, it was effective. It's kind of similar to when they're a custom t-shirt, that's kind of like the necklace, right? People see people have it, they want to find out where to get it, and then they go and they do it. So
yep, that and little mini plants and free ice cream, all those are always good trade show
mini
traffic.
plants.
Mini plants, yes, little mini desk plants.
Okay.
Succulents, very, very popular.
Yeah.
Not something you would give to somebody on a multiple day conference usually. It's sometimes hard to travel. But if you know that they're
Local.
Local, anything with planting is very popular. How sustainable can you get? Another thing, we could just talk about product, but there are lots of plantable promotions out there. You can print something on a plantable card that has wildflower seeds, and then it grows. Right. So if people are looking for sustainable ways, they say everything is junk. We don't want. There are plenty of solutions out there as well. We could talk for another hour, but we won't.
Yeah. No, I like those ideas too. Back in the day, for a company I worked for way before this, we actually thought about doing plants as a welcome gift for people that moved into their apartment community. They moved into their house, and we were all about building community. So we figured, this is a great representation of you growing within the community and growing your friendships and where you live, and plant yourself here. So
definitely that is 100% how it's supposed to work. Same thing with compressed sponges, we want to grow with you. That's another easy flat item you stick in an envelope and mail out to people. So if anytime you've got a cool tagline to go with that, there's always options.
Right. It actually makes sense, the two things coming together. Yeah,
that's true. Yes.
Yeah. Well, Seth, thank you so much for joining me today. Thanks for sharing your passion for products, product marketing, and just brand marketing. Honestly, I find it interesting, and so I appreciate you being here. I hope people that watch this in the future get a lot out of it, and maybe they'll either come to you or somebody else. Like you say, there's so many companies out there, but Sonic Promos, you are a great consultative approach, which I appreciate. And so if they need any help, I'm sure you'd love to give them some guidance at least. So if you have any questions, go to Seth and he'll help you out. But
Thanks.
just yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I mentioned to you, I know you had Joel Zeff on last week. Okay.
Yes.
So I think it's 10 years ago. Joel was at a conference I was at, and I was in one of his improv games. And I think he's great. So I was super excited when I was like, I'm going right after Joel. That's exciting.
That's funny. Yeah. No, he was great. And yeah, that's funny that you were in one of his games. because I think it'd be fun to be a part of one of his sessions, and actually, like, it's an experience, right? Like, just like
Yep.
this can be an experience. It kind of puts a mark in your brain when you actually do something around something versus just you're given something and move along, right?
Yeah,
Like, if you
for sure.
laugh while learning, you're like, oh, that kind of actually did a thing in my brain.
100%. I still remember it very well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, Seth, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah.
Just like Seth jumped in onto Boss Talks and was the boss today, you too can. So if you want to be the boss of the show and share what you're passionate about, what your story is, and just what others may learn from you in this industry of multifamily and beyond, reach out to me. I'd love to have you on the show. Until next week, when we have another great guest, this has been Boss Talks, and thanks for watching.